a little bit about roster construction moving forward too.
Perfect. So, folks, this is Mike Kegley here with Brad Sturdy. Kedrick Prince is going to be on. Marcus Griffin is going to try his best. He's got a couple of obstacles in his way. But we thought we would get this started right here at 7:30 promptly because that's the type of guys we are. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on over the last week. And, of course, we have Sturdy on here. We'll talk a little bit about roster construction and how the team is approaching that. Brad, Nike Hoop Summit. You can still watch the replay on Peacock. You've got to go into the sports and you've got to look at all of them. And it's a little hard to find the Nike, Hoop Summit, but when you find it, excellent. I thought it was really good how Robbie Hummel, they were giving Illinois a lot of nice talk, which I didn't know what was going on. I thought there was something wrong with my television set.
Illinois is becoming a target, for these top-rated kids. I mean, you look at last year with Will Riley and Kasparis, and top European kids like Tomislav. And then this year, they're obviously Dome Sask is a kid they covet, and David Murkovich, who, although people in the States maybe didn't understand how good that kid was until they actually watched him play. And then it was like, whoa, this dude can actually play. And, he's a great fit. So, yeah. But, I think the first thing I want to touch on is roster construction. It's very interesting when you look at the way rosters have to be constructed now, because you're going to have guys to fill the bottom of your roster. You got 15 spots now. World's changing. Used to be 13 scholarships, and then you can have a couple of walk-ons at the end, and those days are over. It's 15 roster spots. Now, they're all on scholarship, and so then what you're going to do is you're going to have to find guys who are willing to be those 13th, 14th, 15th guys, right? Essentially, this year, Jason Jackson was that guy. He was 13th guy this year. Whatever. He wasn't going to play. And the other things we're going to see is 5 years to play. 5 years, 5 seasons, no red shirts, none of that stuff. And so I think that's gonna change. So as we kind of look forward to this, you're going to see them Illinois' going to find guys who want to maybe develop, start out as a 14th, 15th guy, or you get guys just really want to go to Illinois. You're going to have a 14th, 15th guy, but you'd love to have a guy like Jason Jackson who wants to come redshirt, and then you develop and he doesn't, and you wouldn't need a red shirt, but this year would have been nice to have him, available to play, right? I mean, they could have actually used him in some games, just to put him in for defense or for 5 fouls when they were going through injuries to Tomislav and injuries to Merez and so forth. And they're having to play Ben Humrickhouse at the 5 spot. And so it made it tough. So I think you're going to see filling out the roster is going to be a little bit different than it used to be, because you're going to try and find some stash guys. The problem also is it's hard to find those stash guys because of the portal. They can leave. I mean, they don't have to sit out in the air. Just boom, they just go. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they put rosters together moving forward.
Ked, are you there and talk a little? You got any thoughts on roster construction? And Ked's still on mute, so we may just have Ked as a pretty face.
Ked's mute.
Now he's number 1.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I didn't hear the beginning of the question. My fault.
We're just talking about roster construction and what they have to take into consideration when they do it.
Well, right now, I heard the tail end of what Brad said. I mean, and no matter what happens, if people think the players are going to want to come and sit now, it's going to be hard. And if those guys, the players who were told that they were going to come in and that they are going to play and then they don't, they're leaving. I'm really sorry, but they're leaving. They're not going to stay. And that's unfortunate, but that's what the NIL situation has created. I don't want to say NIL. I shouldn't say that. I should say the transfer portal. The transfer portal has done that. And to be honest with you, I know some people don't like it. I don't have a problem with it because it's not right. I mean, I tell people all the time, and I've talked to a lot of parents, I tell them this: you get one shot at this. and you don't get tenure like an NBA. You get, well, who knows? The NCAA may give you 6 or 8 right now, but but my point is, you only get one shot at this, and it stinks because the kids do want to play. And me personally, guys, I don't know if you agree or not, I want to see the kids play. I do. I would. We all have kids, and I know we can be a team player. We could be not a team player. I want my kids to play, and I'm not saying they should start. I'm not saying my kids should average 25 points a game. I'm not saying that, but I know I want them to be able to have a.
And Kid has left the building, so
he gone. My kid.
Yep. It was.
Yeah, no, I think Kid makes a good
the wrong
point
thing, and we just got rid of him.
We got him. No, I think the hard part's making those guys happy, and you have certain guys like that's where you got to find guys like a Jason Jackson who's willing to come in, understand that you're not going to play as a freshman. I mean, he knew that going in, and
he could live with it.
Yeah, I mean, he knew he had to get stronger to play at the higher level, and like he went from 200 pounds. He said he was right around 200 when he came in. Now he's at 228 to 230. And, that's a huge growth for him. And he wants to get to 240 by next season and keep working on his jump shot and improving that. But, the hard part is finding guys like that, but you have to. That's the hard part is you do have to find some guys like that. In addition to your 10 to 11 guys that are actually in the mix to get PT. And then you got to find guys to fill out that roster and finding guys who are willing to come sit for a year, because the other side is somebody talked to, somebody wants they can go play at Illinois State or, Eastern Illinois. And if they're good there, guess what? They're going to have an opportunity to go go somewhere bigger and play. And that's just the way it works now. And so, yeah, I think that now there are some amenities to being at a high major like Illinois because, the NIL can be solid. And the second part is that you can, the amenities, I mean, the place where you're working out, the food, all the training staff, getting to work and get better. And so you have to also give them that option. They have that option, but they also have to sell. Ked mentioned they want to play. If they don't play as freshmen, a lot of times they leave, but sometimes they want just the opportunity, and you have to sell them that you're going to get to play next year. And then if that doesn't happen, then they're probably gone. And we saw that with Draven Gibbs-Lawhorn. I mean, he got to play a little bit at the end of last year, and then this year he kind of found himself not on the court at the end, and it was frustrating for him. I certainly don't blame him. He's a talented kid, and so he's a talented kid who's going to go to UNLV and do extremely well. So yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of shots up there, which is that's his game. He's a volume scorer, and he needs that option.
Well, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that barely. I'm not. I'm really happy for guys like that. The one thing, the transfer portal, and I don't want to be that guy. It's great when you get players. I mean, I have to be honest. So this is like, how do I say this? I don't like the transfer portal. The NIL doesn't bother me, but when Illinois gets a football, basketball recruit, I like it. So I know that's kind of, kid, you can't have the best of both worlds, but that's just how I feel, and it's not right. I don't care about the other teams. I just want to see Illinois be able to go out, be the only team. That's right, be the only team in college athletics to go out and say, "Hey, we can go get anybody we want, but you can't." And I really think it's helped. It's really, really helped Illinois. If I had to say one more than another, I think it's helped the football program probably more than others, if I have to say, the transfer portal, but I'm just not a fan of it because it's just different. And there's so many things that go on behind the scenes and tangibles that go on that the average person don't know. And I mean, sometimes I wish Brad and I didn't know, to be honest with at least me. I can't speak for Brad, but it's a lot that goes on with these kids. And like I said, I don't never fault a parent. Now, there's some parents out there with a hidden agenda, and I'm smart enough to figure that out with some of these people. And once you do it to me, I cut them off. I had a parent a few weeks ago do that to me, and I've not spoken to that parent since. So, it's a dirty business, and and now it's even worse because NIL is legal.
Well, I'm going to postulate one thing. I think part of the reason why some of these old style coaches have left is because you have to recruit your whole team to come back So it's not like you're just thinking about the 3 guys or 4 guys you're trying to get. You got to recruit everybody, so all 15. And I think there are times where these guys, some of the older coaches, I think they like to just leave it to the assistants to build the relationships. And then at the end of the year, when NIL comes, when the portal opens up and NIL money starts flowing, if you have a head coach who's calling you and whispering sweet nothings to you, and you're, as a head coach, you've been reliant upon your assistants to build those main part of the relationship. I think they're looking at this going, well, this is not really what I wanted to do. I was the assistant coach years ago and I had to do all this. I don't want to do it now. Am I on a wrong tangent there, Brad?
No, I think you're right. It's interesting. It's just a different world, and again, you also don't connect as well. And there are guys who really connect with kids. I mean, I don't know. And some people are really good at just connecting with people overall. Orlando Antigua is, is one guy that connects with everybody. I mean, he's just fantastic at relating to people, and just some guys are just really good at that. And a lot of these older head coaches, it's harder and harder to connect there. So anyway, it's different. So I think that that's part of it.
It definitely is, and I'll tell you what, just the other part of it, because I don't blame the head coaches, but what might happen, I can't say will. Maybe some of these assistant coaches are going to start asking for more money. They're going to listen, if we're going to go out and we have to do this and do all this extra work, because, I mean, let's face it, they're spending a lot more time away from their families and, not just leaving the state that they're working in, but, leaving the country, and you're gone for more days. There's more Zooms, and, kids are on campus more. So some of these assistant coaches may start demanding more money.
Yeah, I totally see that. A couple questions came in as things are going along. Is there any truth to the Adam Miller return rumors? And I don't know what happened when he left. I will say that we can say that there could be truth to the return rumors, but there are some people who will say until he returns, there's no truth in those rumors. So, Brad, you guys tell us, are there any rumors about this that you've ferreted out?
If you don't want to go first, Brad, be on the spot, I'll do it because I don't care.
No, I mean, I think Ked and I have the same information. It's a possibility. I think that DePaul, NC State, there's a lot of schools that are interested in Adam Miller. I haven't even talked to Ked about this, so I assume that he has the same information. But, I think that there's a lot of schools that have interest in him. He's older. He's been through the system. Adam, if you go back in time, Adam didn't want to leave Illinois years ago. I mean, that wasn't a choice. And he wants to win. I mean, dude's been, he's left and it's been the struggle bus for getting wins. Now he wants a chance, and Illinois is one of the options there. And I think that's where their biggest sell is, over NC State kind of rebuilding, and also over DePaul, who, historically has struggled. So, or recent past. So I think that, that's their sell. And I don't, NIL's there for everybody. So that's what I would say. I don't know if Ked might disagree, but let's see.
No, I really do think Illinois is in a great spot to get him. I'm just going to put it out there. There's a lot of mutual interest on both sides. The NIL money that he's been offered from the 3 schools that Brad mentioned, North Carolina State and DePaul, Illinois is on par with. It's the same amount. He wants to win games. When he was at Illinois, he was on the team that went to the tournament. But, I'm surprised, not just on the men's side, but the women's side as well. They want to play in the big dance. And that's one of the things that we could talk money and NIL and how much you're going to play. But a lot of these kids want to be on Selection Sunday. They want to be able to have their families, be able to experience an NCAA basketball game. And I've heard that from both sides, men and women. And right now, that is a huge factor. And the one advantage, if I just, scale from 1 to 10, I would say Illinois is in the driver's seat because they've proven they're going to go to a tournament again. They're going to put together a good roster. I know a few weeks ago everybody was upset, and people were mad because of the way the roster was looking. I don't see it that way anymore. But to me, unless something drastic happens, and I don't want to look stupid because it can happen, somebody could come in and say, listen, we want you here, and they may throw another point $7 or another couple $100,000, then they may take it. But if you want to go to the NCAA tournament, DePaul probably is still rebuilding. Chris Holtman's a great coach. I understand the Will Wade because he coached him before, but there's nothing like coming home.
So, yeah, and my whole hope is that post knee injury he can play the defense, because I thought, I was saddened when he left. I thought he had a really good freshman year. Would have loved to have seen him in the Illini uniform for a longer period, but things happen. When we look at the additions coming in, Dame Sar, obviously somebody that is looked at and coveted by even potentially the NBA. Brad, what are you hearing on him as a potential person putting on the orange and blue?
I mean, I think Illinois in a really good spot. He has to go back to Spain and figure some things out. I think with leaving FC Barcelona without permission, so there's some things they have to work out there for this year. But Illinois is a great spot. I think that once that happens, I think they're going to be have a great opportunity to get him. Right now, I think the NBA is his goal, obviously, but currently, there's not many people who are ready to invest a first-round pick on him because although the upside is huge, he's just not ready. And the question that you sell on these kids, like, you may be ready to go. Let's say you get a second round, hey, we'll draft you in the second round. Nothing's guaranteed. You end up in the G League, and that's not exactly the greatest fun league to be in when you could be playing college basketball in front of 15,000 fans every night, getting a large NIL check, which would be even bigger than what you would make in the second round. And not to mention, getting your game developed so you can be a lottery pick, which then becomes generational wealth potentially. So yeah, that's where I think that the sell is. And I think Illinois is a really good spot.
I think the Illinois coaches were there yesterday. Brad and I both talked about that on our message board this afternoon. I think some people are asking, is that why KJ was there? Yes and no. It had a lot to do with it. They are good friends. KJ wants him to go to the University of Illinois. I mean, and that's a great person to model to have who's in your corner to want to say, hey, Illinois is a place for you to go. I was impressed with him last night with Dami. The only thing, and again, I put this on our message board, the thing that concerned me was when people attacked him in the open court, he got in foul trouble because he wasn't ready. And those are things, and he's thin. Not that all those guys weren't. I'm not big on saying, oh, you got to gain weight. They all do because they're in high school. My thing is he looked really thin last night, and I think he got pushed around defensively by AJ. AJ went at him. Do I think he's as good as an athlete? I do, but I think going to college, learning how to play defense would help him and would help his game. You're right. Why would you want to go to the G League and play in front of 500 people when you're going to get a nice NIL package? You're going to learn the game, and people are already put you on notice. I mean, Robbie Homer was in love with him last night, and I thought he played average. So when guys like that have a name, they're going to market themselves. Even when KJ struggled, they found a way to say something positive. So if he wants to play in the league, I think he had an opportunity, but there's just it just makes no sense to me why he would do that. But I do think Illinois put themselves in a good position to land this kid.
And what do we think of Illinois' other player who was actually out there on the the world team, Brad? Murkovich.
I love David Murkovich. I think he's fantastic. I just think that he is a great fit in the way they want to play. He can post up, he can booty ball, he can pass it, he can shoot it, he can handle it. He's not a vertical athlete, but he's very fluid. Like I was really shocked at how fluid he was, getting up and down the floor, moving. And, there was no ceilings actually wrote about him. And he was like their surprise guy because he was the one guy who could actually kind of stay in front of Boozer and actually gave him made him question what he was doing. And so it was really impressive performance by him. And I will tell you that I got a text message back, from someone, and I said, hey, this dude looks really good. And, he's really good. He goes, well, we might know what we're doing. So so that was yeah, I think it's impressive what he did the other night, and I think you see him also. You get him with Fletch where he gets a little bit leaner. I mean, he's strong. That's what I love about him. He's physical at the point of attack. Man, that dude can take a hit. He can hold his position. He's going to be at like 245, maybe 6'9", 245. And everybody's always wondering, we need a guy who's physical and tough like that. And then when they get a guy like that, and it's like, well, he doesn't jump high enough. Well, if he can jump that high, and he's 6'9", 245, and he's super skilled, guess what? He will not play in college. He will not go there. He will go straight to the NBA when he's that age. So there's got to be some things that make him go to college. But I'm a huge fan. I think he's a great fit next to – you've got some finesse bigs, to be honest, in the Ivasic kids. And now you get a guy who's kind of a hard-nosed, tougher kid, but he's also still a guy who can shoot it and pass it and handle it. So it really fits what Illinois wants to do.
Well, here is my thing. First of all, I'm going to say the one negative thing I don't like about him. He reminds me of an Iowa player because he complained about a lot of fouls last night, and I don't want to see him throw his hands up every time. But I was wrong about him as a player. Thoroughly loved his game. I think he's going to help Illinois, and boy, this is going to be a bad take, but I got to say it. If he plays the way he's capable of playing and what I think he can do, people are going to forget about Merez because I think this guy is a much polished basketball player than Merez Johnson. He is quicker than what I thought he was. He's good around the basket. He can shoot free throws. He can shoot it. He can pass it. He is really good in the pick and roll game. Can you imagine what it's going to be like with him and Ivasic out there in the two-man game? I was impressed with him last night. And a lot of people may not want to admit what they were saying. I was wrong. I thought he looked slow-footed in a lot of the games that I saw. But last night, maybe it was something different. Maybe he was trying to impress the NBA scouts. But if they're going to get a kid like that, he is definitely – people can get mad. I don't care. He's definitely more skilled than Merez Johnson at this point. I'm not saying Merez isn't going to do that. But if you look at the stats, no, he didn't do that in college. But this kid's also a good rebounder. And he's not afraid of contact. He'll go hit somebody. He'll go rebound. He's crafty around the basket. This was a really good pickup. And I don't know. I have to be careful what Brad was saying, but I sent a text message to some people, and I thought, damn, you guys are pretty good because I was impressed. I really and truly was impressed because that's not the kid I thought. And there was times where his teammates missed him. I think he finished with 8 points. He could have had 10 to 12, 14 points. I think his teammates missed him a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's an awful lot for him for Illinois fans to be positive about. The thing I was very, very, I enjoyed watching him as a guy who focuses more on defense when I coach, but he was constantly, he didn't just watch the ball and he didn't just watch his own guy. And let's face it, we saw KJ sometimes this year where he could only focus on one or the other. So I thought his ability to kind of, he came up and was in help position and then would go back down to the opposite block. I think he came out to the left wing and then went back down to the right box and actually got a foul as he blocked somebody out. And if he would have half-assed that, it would have been an easy tip in on the weak side. And we've seen that an awful lot with Illinois. So I thought that court awareness was something that was, he's only 19. I mean, I thought that was a pretty good thing. Was there anything else about his game that you like, Brad?
Yeah, what I wrote about after the game last night, for IlliniGuys.com, I was talking about how you watch him come off those screens, his ability to create, and this is I think this is a nuanced thing that I don't know if people watch for. When guys catch passes, they notice it. What I noticed about Murkovich, because you can really focus on him when you're just watching that player specifically, he knows how to get open. And he knows how to create a passing angle as a receiver of the past. A lot of times we talk about great passers and how they do this. But your catcher, the person who is receiving that pass, has to create an angle that passer can find. Especially if you don't – if you have a 6'9" guy who's playing point guard like Magic Johnson, he can throw passes over people, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing with a smaller point guard or they're putting a bigger, taller guy on the point guard – now it's harder for him to see, so that guy has to create the angle. He has to create this passing angle, and that's what he's really good good about it. And that was what really impressed me. He's a really great feel player, really high feel player. He really understands the game, knows where he needs to go to get open. He was open so much last night where they didn't throw him the ball. I mean, it was insane because those guys were like, I'm getting mine. I'm going to get mine.
He was kind of a late add to the team too.
He was. Yeah. And he got to, but they did well when he was out there. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah,
he helped them. So, you look at some of those guys that he's playing with, the guy who really played his position was the Bobo kid, I don't even know, Murkovich, right? Not Murkovich, Murkovich.
Right,
and Murkovich is going to be a first round draft pick this year. He really showed out this week, and I think he moved up on the draft radars as a probably a late first round pick. So, I think it's great. I think he's a fantastic ad, and I think the Illinois coaches, kudos to them for finding him and getting him, committed.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if you guys remember, Brad, you talking about his passing. I think he brought the ball down the court on a fast break once, and he made a left-handed pass. I think that left-handed pass may have been a dummy, but it doesn't really matter. But it just shows how fundamentally sound he is, and he's not one-dimensional. And he's not a guy that you just have to throw on the block, and they'll be able to use him in multiple different ways. And, I think he is a much more skilled Ben Murkovich as well, because his booty ball game is great. Ben was able to play it, but he wasn't as effective as Marcus Domas. I think David has a really good chance to do that.
I was thinking Ben Murkovich. You talk booty ball with Ben Murkovich. So my favorite thing is this: when we were watch this game. I don't remember which game it was, and they were playing. He starts to do booty ball, and they starts backing the guy down, and the assistant coach of the other team yells, "He can't dribble! He can't dribble! Attack him! He can't dribble!" And so it's like I think that's what hurt Ben was he isn't a great ball handler. Like, I mean, he can shoot it. He understands. He's got some footwork, but you have to be able to dribble. Murkovich is smooth with the ball. He's also strong enough to hold his base and be able to back those guys down. So, it's always interesting.
Yeah. So now, but before we get into a few more of the questions, wanted to just put in a message from our friends at Busey Bank here.
This is the run my own business dream. This is the colleges paid for dream. This is the retire early dream. This is Busey, where your dreams and possibilities become moments through trusted guidance and expertise, through lifelong relationships. Because we're here to help you achieve the life you've always envisioned.
So that was our friends at Busey Bank. Thank you, of course, for their support. And let's go into a few of the other questions that we're getting here. Gentlemen, in terms of guys coming in next year, Wagler and Lee both were players of the best player in their state. How much time are they going to be able to get on a team that is shaping up to be fairly talented?
Well, I think Lee has a chance to get some minutes just because he's physically more ready to play from a physicality standpoint. And he's a good ball handler. And he can do some things offensively. He's a solid shooter. He's obviously a guy who's wired to score because obviously he was a second or third in the UIBL in scoring at 22.8 points a game. So he's obviously talented there. But the one thing I would say is, like, it's still hard. And I think he's going to get a little bit more explosive under Fletch this summer because he's got some kind of, he's maybe, and I'm not saying he's heavy or anything like that, but I think he can lean up and become more explosive under Fletch. And so I think he's got a better chance of seeing minutes, and it all depends on who they have. And if you have injuries and things like that he's the guy who can step in. But I think he's more ready to play than Keaton Wagler, although I think Keaton Wagler is one of the highest skill guys they have. He's a tremendous shooter. He's really understands how to play, but we thought he makes Will Riley look like a bodybuilder right now. And that's not ideal, but I think Wagler's like, a 6'5", 6'6" guard who can really understands how to play, and he can really shoot it. So there may be a role for him in certain situations as we go forward. So yeah, that's my take. I don't know, Ked, what do you think?
What I want to see is both guys get some minutes early on. I want to see what both players can do, and I want to see the guys come in because it's tough as a freshman to come in. If you look at the roster that they're putting together, Brad, there's this one guy who hasn't entered the transfer portal yet. Hopefully that happens. You got Kylan Boswell. Now, there's a strong possibility that you could get Adam Miller. There's Ty Rogers. So there's going to be, I don't know how many minutes are going to be available, but one of them may have a chance to take those minutes early. But it's going to be that's going to be the guy who can defend and who can be the most consistent. It's hard to say which one. I know I've had a conversation with both players and their parents, and I'm going to tell you what we think and what they're thinking is different, because both of those families think their kids are going to come in and play. They're not coming into Illinois to sit on the bench and to wait a year, because if you started this broadcast with, they'll leave and go somewhere else. So I hope that doesn't happen. I would like to see them get minutes. I would like to see them be consistent, because it's hard, though. Playing, I think you can get away with 9 guys. I really think you can get away with it. But once you start playing 10, 11, 12 guys, I think that's tough.
Although let's give crazy old Tom Izzo his props. He does manage to do that, and that's a challenge that for every staff. How do you balance this so you don't have tremendous amount of turnover every year? Really, really tough one to try to figure out where that sweet spot is. Looking at that. Do we have any more news on Watkins, Jackson, or Coward right now? Or any more rumors?
I believe Ian Jackson's on he stopped by USC, but I believe he's at St. John's today or this evening for today and tomorrow. So, and then who else did we ask?
Watkins and Coward.
I know they like both guys. Watkins has everyone after him in the portal. Literally, I don't even know any. I can't even tell you which schools he's narrowed it down to, because I think he's got every school on his list. So, I think that's. I don't know how much traction they've gotten yet. But then the other one would be, I think Coward is one that I know Illinois recruited him a little bit last year. So this is that's a player that they would have interest in, but I don't know how far it's gotten yet.
Well, with the addition of Adam Miller, I don't want to say that, in my opinion, they become courtesy offers, because that's what it looks like to me. I don't know how hard they're recruiting those kids, because, I just mentioned the backcourt possibilities and the mystery player. There's just only so many spots you can go around, and they're going to be loaded at the wings. They are big, so somebody's going to have to sit. So I don't know how hard they're recruiting those guys anymore. They're probably staying in contact with them, but how much, I wouldn't say it's a lot.
I would hazard a guess for my own preferences. I would like 2 very athletic wings, as I like our bigs, but our bigs are not up and down the court guys. I'd love to get Sar and one other guy who could be out there, giving the Illini a little bit of an aggressive look on defense. Although I think Underwood's going to have to take some of these guys and re-educate them on defense. I think Sar's got a ton of ability, but I think he's going to have to learn how to play defense at a different level and intensity if he wants to be as effective as he would like to be at Illinois. And that goes for several other guys who are out there as well. Brad, any thought on wings? Go ahead, Ked.
I just thought he got exposed last night, Sar, from a defensive standpoint. Mike, you're 100% right. He really, and don't forget about Ty Rogers. And, I've been told that he can shoot the ball. I would like to see him do that a little bit more. But I said at the beginning of this podcast, that's the only thing that concerned me with Sar last night was his transition defense. You can't stand up and play defense, and I don't know if he understands how good these players are in America, but he was playing against a high school kid last night. You get an opportunity to play against a 22, 23-year-old guy, they're going to do it to you all the time. Then he'll be sitting on the bench. He didn't play a lot because he was in foul trouble. So that's going to make a difference. And we know Ty Rogers can defend. Adam Miller was a really good defender when he was at Illinois, and he doesn't seem to have any effects from his ACL tear either. So from my understanding, I know they want to be athletic. I know they want to become older, but they also like the NBA guys because it's a big sell to say, hey, you can come to Illinois, you can go to the NBA, and we'll put you in a position if you perform.
Any thoughts on that, Brad?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think the one thing about DeMay is that he's really good on-ball defender out on the perimeter. I think he did struggle less when you saw Debansa and people like that, those physical dudes coming at him.
Although Debansa is going to cause almost everybody to have problems.
Yeah, let's see him come through us, Mike.
Yeah, well, that's because when you fake us, we don't move, and then when you come back, here we are.
It'd be a charge. It'd be a charge every time, baby. So no, no. I mean, and I think Illinois is really. I think they've gone out. They do want to add, as I understand it, they want to add 3 more guys. If they add DeMay and then Adam Miller, then that would be one more spot that they'd like to add. So, I don't. So I don't know. I think that's that's where they would be. Now, I think there are a lot of guys. I think there are a lot of guys out there too that can really play. And I talked about some of these guys on the board, message board. They love Brennan Housen as a shooter, kid from Kansas State.
Yeah.
They've kind of put in some time with Jamel Jones just to kick the tires there. One guy that they've reached out to, and I know Indiana is all over, is Dylan Darling. Who is from Idaho State's Big Sky Player of the Year, 6'2" guard, really fun to watch. So I don't know. I think a lot of people. Can I say this too? What we forget? Do we forget how good Tomislav Ivicic is? I mean, Tommy is a 13 points, 7.7 rebounds this year in his first year of playing college basketball while battling a sprained ankle and mono. I mean, you look at what this cat put up. He shot 62% from 2, 37% from 3. He is, he's also a tremendous passer. You look at the things that he did with a year, and I think Tommy understands. I think when Tommy understands how much he needs to improve his lower body strength and core strength. Because he was an inside player in Europe, and he played against grown men, but they don't let you foul like they do. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean here. College basketball is physical. Like they let those dudes beat the crap out of each other in the paint. And so I think that's where you're going to see, and that's where you're going to see him make growth this offseason. He understands that, and they're going to work with him. And I really think he's like a potential first-team All-Big Ten center. I think he can be 16 points, 10 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists, block one, maybe even block 2 shots a game. I think he could be really good. I think we've lost. We forget how good that dude is and how good he's going to be in his second year in college, and we forget how good Kylan Boswell. Over the last 7 games, Kylan Boswell scored 17.6 points a game. He dished out 4.6 assists. He got 4.3 rebounds. All while shooting over 70% from the floor from 2-point range, and shot 31% from 3. Those are crazy good numbers. 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio. I don't know. I mean, if you get that kind of production from those 2 guys and you fill in with what we're looking at, and you still have Will Riley out there too, who I don't think's coming back, but you never say never because you don't know what's going to happen here coming up at the combine and with whatever could happen.
Well, Brad, I know you came in late on some of our podcasts because you were at the press conference, but if anybody who promoted Ivicic more than Mike and I would like to meet them. We knew how important he was to this team. The best NBA prospect was obviously Kasparis, but the MVP on this team was definitely Ivicic. He made other people better. It was obvious how much better he made people. And one of my favorite things to watch, he would shoot a 3, and I would look at the opposing coaches. Miller from Xavier was just frustrated. He threw his hands up in the air a couple of times because you can't stop it. It's tough, and he's a nightmare matchup. If he could somehow figure out, like Marcus Griffin said on a couple of our podcasts, go down there on the block, be willing to go punish a couple people, he would be a nightmare matchup and could possibly be an All Big Ten performer, first team All Big Ten performer, because he shoots it so well and he passes it really, really well. And now that his brother's there, who's taller, who's a better shot blocker, I don't know who's a better defender because I don't think either one of them are great, but their size certainly helps them do that. But having Tommy is big, and the fact that he came back and I would like to see him go to the NBA because I know that's his dream, but he has to get a low post game. And also, wouldn't hurt to learn how to put the ball on the floor as well either.
Yeah, you want to get past the 3 dribbles into a problem phase of your career. And I think he does a decent job for a couple of dribbles, and then you hope he has gotten rid of the ball by then. So final thoughts on U of I men's basketball before we hit a couple other topics. Any other thing that we didn't bring up, Brad, that you want to talk about before we kind of switch topics?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I think people are underestimating this roster a little bit. With two to three more pieces, I think it's got a chance to be really, really good. I think they fit well together. I think probably better than people are predicting right now. You look at a roster from last year and you look at what they added, and we certainly didn't. We talked about all year, and this team had had a chance to be really good, and it didn't work out. But I think the upside of next year's roster is not going to be young either. And so, yeah, you may bring in a Deme Sarr, but you're not got a bunch of young guys. You know what I mean? So, so I don't think that was not directed at Fedigator. That was directed at everyone. Just Jack Jackson. So, but yeah, so I think that a lot of times is, this team's got a chance to be pretty good, and there's still pieces coming. I still think there's more pieces coming in the portal. We talked about there's word that Desmond Claude from USC is going to enter the portal.
Would that be incredible?
I mean, you look at the dudes that are still potentially ending in the entering the portal. And it's just nuts. I mean, and obviously he has good experience at the State Farm Center, so he'd want to come back to that.
Hey, Brad, we know we'd finally have somebody who's a proven performer at an 11 a.m. tip. He played fantastic at 11 a.m.
There you go.
in the morning.
He's perfect.
Not an Illinois strong point.
Yeah.
Cad, you got any final thoughts there?
I'm just waiting for the chance where all the players can get into the transfer portal. That way I can not be so stressed out and talk about this kid that I really, really like. I'm not saying Illinois is going to get him, but I do like their chances. But I just really want, once these kids get into the portal, it'll be a little bit easier for us to say, hey, this is a kid. And I'm going to tell you right now, as soon as this kid hits the portal, because I made the comment and I'm not going to, renege on it. I think personally that he will make people forget about Josh Dix, because I think this kid is a better player. I think he's a better offensive player. So to me, I'm really excited if this possibility happens. And because it's not over, I think the portal closes in 8 days, something like that, I think.
22nd,
so,
April 22nd.
So a lot can happen between now and then. And, like you look at Adam Miller, he hit the portal today or whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden, here's a guy that everybody forgot about and didn't think about, but he had a really good year shooting the basketball, and he's 23 years old now. So he's a lot older. He's much more mature. And, it looks really, really good. I'll honestly say it looks really, really good for him. But, again, anything can happen in a matter of seconds when it comes to college athletics, because somebody can offer you something and say something, the whole world changes. And I would love – because the thing I like about Adam Miller, Mike, he's athletic. And he and Colin Boswell and this other kid that I like, and Ty Rogers, what Illinois is doing to me, they're putting a roster together. They can play multiple ways, because Robbie Hummel mentioned it last night. You look at the Visas brothers, and then you look at David. Those are 3 monsters that are big guys. That's going to be tough to match up with for people to match up with.
Yeah, and just as a side note to some of the comments going on, yes, there has been a warning put out to everybody in the portal. All the moms know that Ked's feeling better now, and to watch out. So there's fair warning out there that Ked is back. So everybody knows that.
My last surgery was last Wednesday. I've had about 6 of those things since Christmas. So last Thursday, and hopefully I'm back. So look out, ladies. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Like somebody throwing a great white shark right back out into the ocean.
Okay, let's change the subject.
So let's talk a little bit about the women have really come up big in the portal. I got to give real props to Shauna Green. That this woman she's like a Terminator. She just keeps moving forward and tearing up people that aren't supposed to be at risk against her. So Kat, I know you do a ton of stuff with the women's team. Why don't you start off with and kind of describe a couple of their wins in the portal and what that can mean to the team?
Well, the first big win was the Leah Guyton, and I kind of thought Illinois was in the running because I contacted her. I contacted her father, and I got ghosted, which never happened during the whole recruiting process when they were looking at Illinois. The University of Iowa, from my understanding, talking to my media friends, because where I live, Iowa made it tough on themselves. When she tore her ACL and they recruited her, they told her she was going to be the heir apparent to Caitlin Clark. And that sounds good to anybody. It just does. And so then she got hurt. They recruited over, and then the 2025 class, they did it again. And I think she's an outstanding prospect. I think she's athletic. A lot of people have asked Brad, Sturdy, and I both, are they both too small? For me, yeah, they're a little small. Her, along with Destiny Jackson, but the difference between Destiny Jackson and Aaliyah Guyton, along with Micaiah Cook and Genesis Bryant, don't take this to offense, ladies, Cook and Bryant, but these two ladies are way more athletic. They can put the ball on the floor. They can get them down the floor. They're faster. They're quicker. They just bring a different element to the game for Illinois. I think those are two outstanding recruits that they got. The other woman that they got, Maddie Weber, I was always wondering if they were going to get a score. I watched every team in this tournament, girls that are long. Everybody had that one girl, their mindset was wired. I'm going to score. I'm going to find a way to score. And when I found out they were going after her, it was like Christmas to me because, well, I shouldn't say this Christmas. This was a bad Christmas for me. But I was really excited. Sorry. I was really excited because this girl is good. And here's the deal. Look at all the players.
Kid got stones for Christmas.
Yes, I did.
Oh, cool.
Brad,
Stones. Man.
Brad, you're pretty good at that, man. Touche. But Illinois doesn't lose out on a lot of kids. And here's why you don't want to burn bridges. When Shauna first got there, she recruited the heck out of Guyton. She recruited her hard. I was paying attention to how, when she came to Champaign, how she was treated. Illinois does a really good job because these kids can leave now and they can always come back. A lot of people have said to me about Divine Burge, who ended up going to LSU. I'm going to tell you, there's still some good contact because there's a chance she could possibly come back. Come back to Illinois. Illinois was in her final two. So getting a girl like Guyton from Peoria, you got Jasmine Brown-Haggard, who's also from Chicago. You got three of the top women's basketball players in the state in the last 3 consecutive years. I think that's great, but I do love the fact that Maddie's on this roster. I just think she's a girl to me like what Gretchen Dolan is probably going to be. If you put both of those girls on the floor at the same time, if Gretchen's, once she's healthy, it's going to be tough because Gretchen's tall. This team is longer than what it was last year. I don't think they're done. I do know, I think they want another big, which I don't blame them because you're one injury away. Haven Smith made strides, but I still think her best days are ahead of her, but you need another big in case Letty gets hurt again or she gets in foul trouble. So that would be my one thing that I would like to see them do is get another big who's willing to come in and to say, hey, if I can beat Letty out, great. If I can't, I'm going to still be serviceable.
Yeah, I think, we didn't even mention Barry Wallace. Who's a McDonald's All-American, going to go into her sophomore year. And then they also have, they brought in mid-year. They almost took the red shirt off and played the kid mid-year. And so that they brought in, I can't even remember her name now, but these are
the girl from Canada.
Yeah. So she's really good scorer too. So you've added much more offense to this team. You've added electric guards who can play downhill. And, what they did this year, when you consider they lost, probably their best player in Micaiah Cook earlier in the year, they lost the big that they brought in through the portal, all these things, they still make the second round of the NCAA tournament. Really impressive. This team may have more talent next year on the floor. Now, does that mean they're going to be as good? No, because they're not going to be 84 years. They're not going to have a bunch of old people, right? They're going to have 23, 24-year-old girls. Now you're going to have, a lot of young people. But I think probably if you're going to do that, women's basketball is an easier place to do that than men's basketball because men are still haven't developed. A lot of these freshmen haven't developed yet. A lot of the girls are fully developed when they get to college. They obviously get stronger. They get better. But, it's just it's different.
Well, then also if you
Excellent.
look at it, they have one of the top 10 recruiting classes, and and in that class there's a lot of size.
Yep. Yeah. That's. I mean, they're going to be young, much younger but they're going to have a lot more talent. Be really interested to see how that goes. Um, any any things we might hear on the football front in the next couple of weeks, based on, we're obviously going to see guys who maybe will be heading out based on what they saw in practice. Anything you're expecting?
Go ahead, Ked.
Well, for me, I do expect some more commitments. I was expecting one today, and probably it may happen tomorrow, and it may happen Tuesday, depending upon what site you look at. Illinois currently has a top 15 recruiting class. They'll probably lose a couple kids because that's very normal after players see the writing on the wall in the transfer portal. But you got to look at right now. I mean, Brett Bielema is a program builder. He really has done a tremendous job at building this program. And I love the fact of how active he is on social media and how well the kids gravitate to him. But very rarely will they get a kid on campus or a few kids on campus, and they're not able to close on a couple of them. There's a couple of nice tight ends, and, Illinois is battling. They're really battling for a couple of nice tight ends that are in the state. I'm not going to say which ones are going to be leaning which one way or the other by name. I heard Illinois is in a good position to land one of them, and one of them is probably might end up at Penn State. And I wouldn't fault the kid at Penn State because of how they use their tight end. I forget the fellow's name, but it's hard to argue that because, like we've always said, when Illinois recruits a kid, they now have video footage to show them men and women's and football program how they're going to utilize that kid. So I think they're in good shape. I don't think they're done. I think before it's all said and done, they could potentially end up with a top 10 class. They've slid down from 8 to 14 or 15, but this still says a lot. Nathan Durst, you're exactly right. That's the one I'm talking about. But I'm just, at least that's my gut feeling, but I could be totally wrong. Max Sutter has been on campus probably more than Brad Underwood has. More than Brett Bielema. And hell, he's a coach there.
Definitely more than Lovie Smith was.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think, Max Sutter and J.C. Anderson, two of the top tight ends in the country, fantastic players. I think they're really good families. My daughter played basketball with they both have sisters the same age who went on to play college basketball and soccer. And so same as my daughter. And so they played together on the same AAU team. And so those are wonderful families. They're great kids. And I think either one of those kids would be great gets. Obviously, they're extremely talented. I believe Illinois offered the younger suitor from the 2028 kid. I think he's 2028. So he's a freshman, just a baby, and he got an offer while he was on campus this weekend. And then, Tony, there's a couple other kids. Tony, what's his name? Tony Williams from Florida. Tony, Marion Thomas is from Florida. Is their kid they're in good shape with? And then a kid named Tony, and I'm not even going to try and say his name. Balanjanai or whatever. I don't know.
Bolognese.
Bolognese. Yes, he's the Bolognese guy. So anyway, Tony. Yeah,
sure.
He's good.
Sounds good. Yeah, but I expect a couple of those guys to pull the trigger to commit here pretty soon, Brad and Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're on the right. I think they want to take visits. I mean, I don't blame them for taking visits. I mean, kids are at the right age. It's still the spring of their junior year. Take some visits before this spring and see what you like and find out. Yeah, so Nathan Durst lives in Dunlap. By the way, Dunlap also has an Illinois softball commit. Right, Sutton Santoni. He's going to be a pitcher for Illinois in the class of 2026. 6'1", throws about 65. Has a really good rise ball. And she's got a really good coach too, I've heard. So anyway,
you got any ideas on NIL money for these football recruits?
I don't know for football, but basketball. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I would love to see where it's coming from. Football, I don't know, but basketball. Like we said on our message board, to get Dami Sarr, you're not going to pay $200 to get him. You're going to pay some money to get a kid like that because I know I see it too, but I didn't want to say it. But since Brad said it, he's 100% right because if you don't pay it, someone else is going to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Football's a little bit different because they're getting money. Everyone's getting money. And quarterbacks are going to get crazy money, right? Some of these, I mean, we've seen this. The weird part about this, like, how about the Tennessee situation? When you think about, their quarterback, he's a Leva, and so he was a kick-outa instead of just a Leva, and so they sent him packing because he kept asking for more, and he wanted more, and he wanted like $4 million. There reaches a point, unless you're just a special, like, Heisman Trophy winning talent, they're going to reach a point where you're going to have situations where you've got like the NBA thing. And I don't know that college guys are willing to be the bottom of the barrel on the NBA roster guys, because they make more in college than they would make in the pros. And so you're going to have these guys. So, I mean, somebody's really valuable in college football, but it's the quarterback. You look at the NFL, there's left tackles, there's quarterbacks, but the guys who are just making, they're making good money, but you're going to see them throw all this money into quarterbacks, and they're going to get $2 or $3 million. But if they're not really, really good, they're not going to like what happens to these guys and how they're treated in this NIL era. So that's why I think they need to figure out a way to collectively bargain or find a way to negotiate so that they have, 2 and 3 year deals with these kids, because until you do that, it's going to be crazy. You're going to have these situations. And now, does anybody want, I'm a Leva. I'm a Leva.
I think there's a lot of rumors out there that USC was helping start this problem so that they can finish it by getting him. So who knows?
Well, that's fine. But do they want to give him $4 million?
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be
worth $4 million. And how's that work in your locker room with the guy you already recruited to play there, and you guaranteed him money? And so, I just don't know. I mean, this is going to be crazy. And then the other thing is, I don't think he's that good. I think he's good. I think he's really good, but is he a Heisman Trophy winner? And if we're going to pay non-Heisman Trophy winner types $4 million, is he a guy who's going to lead USC to the promised land?
Well, that's the challenge that these
or is
players,
he going to lead him to a 7-win bowl season? For $4 million, is that worth it?
These players and their parents are going to have to put on their big boy pants, because if you walk in there and say, I want $4 million, the coaching staff is going to show you where you rank in SEC quarterbacks, and then show you what those guys are making, and then say you ain't worth $4 million. And, I think what was done by Heupel had to be done. I don't think you can back up the cart for a lot of reasons, because you need 22 starters in football, and I don't care how good the quarterback is, you can't overpay by double the market. And if his pay should be somewhere around 1.5 million and you offer him 4, that's going to have ripples up and down your roster. And the reason I know that is because I watched the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. So I get to see that every year. Way to go, Jerry. Now the other question that came in, and this one I have to admit a strange fascination, but is one of the Irvins being looked at as a assistant coach for Brad Underwood as he looks to fill that final position?
I've not heard that. And I know the one thing, Brad doesn't have to do what he did when he first got to Illinois 8 years ago. I don't think he's in a position where he feels forced. There was a lot of talent in Chicago. The transfer portal's out there now. They recruit the country. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but now that I saw that as one of the questions, I'm definitely going to ask. But it would surprise me. I've heard that they're looking for someone, and they do need another coach. Whatever that role is going to be as a recruiter, X's and O's guys during timeouts, I don't know, but I did hear they're going to hire someone else. But what you're not going to see is, when Adam Miller first came to Illinois, there was a lot of drama that came in with him. And that's what I mentioned a few minutes ago. That stuff's all gone by the wayside. He's making his own decisions. He's not getting bad advice from somebody else. And he's a very, very, very intelligent kid academically, number one. So just having said that, I would be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think those names come out. I think when you throw Adam Miller in the portal and him talking about, moving, then it makes sense to have Jerrance Howard and Nick Irvin be guys that are, from Arizona State being talked about coming to Illinois. I mean, Jerrance already had a stint in Illinois and Southern Illinois and so forth. So, coaches are always looking to better their situation as well. So I certainly wouldn't blame either of them for wanting to get back here. I think Illinois, though, one thing I'll tell you is that they do want Devin Cleveland, who plays for the McElrain Fire in 2027. And I think he's like a really elite prospect in that class. So doesn't mean they're going to hire a coach to get him, but obviously creating, sometimes even, talking to those guys creates that opening. And so that's great. By the way, Nathan Durst mentioning over there, the Final Four of the Masters, that Masters was fantastic. I mean, even if you don't like golf, my wife was like, did Roy make the putt? No, not that time. So, I mean, it's one of those things like it was so much fun to watch. I mean, just, must see. And he essentially chunked, he made two bad swings on wedges, a gap wedge and then a sand wedge, where he hits them one in the water and one in the bunker that really cost him, winning in regulation. But it's really impressive he was able to come back and hit some of those shots down the stretch.
And though I will say, watching Duke lose in the Final Four makes it awfully hard to give for me to say that the Masters was better. But boy, that was an elite couple of weekends there. Now we just get WrestleMania next weekend. I mean, how the heck? How much better can it get, guys?
Oh, well, you're talking about us. I'm just kidding.
Goodness,
yeah, your guy.
I probably will not have turned that on. So yeah.
Yeah, I gotta look. Randazzo up in the Quad Cities wants to do some wrestling stuff this week. So
have at it, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, and the bottom line is, do we have any? What's the percentage chance of Tim Anderson making a triumphant return along with Ty Rogers and Adam Miller?
Tim Anderson, I would say a -8.
-8.
Okay. Sorry, and
he has as good a chance as Terrence Shannon to be on with them.
There you go.
Wow, that's
yeah.
St. Dominic's Rosary goes. The rosary just went up in flames.
I've said it before. I'm a big Store fan. I really like that kid's game, and you look at his highlights. And you go back to the Big Ten tournament run and what he did at Wisconsin. That kid is special to me. I know he's been to 6,000 schools. You can say the same thing about Adam Miller. This is his last stint. I like the kid, but I don't know how much Illinois is pursuing him. But he is, to me, a special player. Whether they go after him or not, I don't know.
It's interesting. We talked about having guys. Remember when the portal, you could only transfer one time? They're going to give one free transfer. So you're looking like, we want guys who are freshmen going to be sophomores. You get that jump. They come play right away, and they can't go anywhere. And so that's an interesting, it was an interesting thing. Well, then they changed it, right? So now it becomes these guys coming in. Some of these guys who've graduated from college, they're in their last year of eligibility. They want one more run. Sometimes that desperation can really be effective. I mean, I think Kylan Boswell wants another run. I think this is Tommy's last year in college. I think this is, if you added, Adam Miller and AJ Storr, I think those are guys who are desperate to make the name for themselves. Like, they're ready to go. And I don't know that, I don't know that it's a totally bad thing. I mean, I'm not saying that those would be my top choices. But, I mean, you've got guys who, obviously, both those guys are very talented players. I mean, they are, high 4-star, 5-star players, guys who've done things in college. Man, if you could add desperate guys who want to perform, who want to win in their last hurrah, that could be – sometimes you can strike lightning in a bottle. Get lightning in a bottle, right? You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you one thing, Brad, from you and I sitting, front row there at the Big Ten tournament a couple of years ago. Storr is physically, he's a really good player, and I love Bill Self as a coach. He's one of my favorites. I just think he whatever happened.
He ruined the kid. let's say he ruined the kid.
He
I'll say
certainly didn't set up an environment for Storr to succeed.
Yeah.
And Storr is not the type of guy who's going to, I mean, let's be honest here. If he's not in the right situation, he's not going to do well. So I do think there is a chance, depending on the creativity of the coach, that Storr could have a heck of a year this year because he proved it at Wisconsin as a sophomore.
I like him. I mean, if I had it my way, Adam Miller and AJ Storr, wrap it up. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Merry New Year, as Eddie Murphy would say, in trading places. I'm good with that. Those are guys that just change you offensively and defensively. I just think Storr went to a bad situation. I cannot believe the way Kansas utilized him. I just can't. And to me, and they were average this year. I would have went to him a lot sooner, but maybe there's things that went on that we didn't know. But when he was at Wisconsin, he was second team all Big Ten. And I'm gonna tell you, you go when we get off this podcast, Google AJ Storr at Wisconsin. I think some of you forgot how good he is. Tell me you wouldn't want to see a player like that on the roster with Adam Miller, what that would look like. He is outstanding as a basketball player.
And if you can get him on a discount, then even better. So,
hey, here's the thing. If you pay him what he got paid last year, it's a discount in today's market.
That's exactly.
I mean, literally. I mean, that sounds insane, but if you're starting, if you're a starter, you're making $750,000 to $1 million. Last year, that was like huge money.
Yeah, that's where I always get nervous being a guy from the business world. When I was here in Illinois is going to have $6 million, I'm thinking, well, everybody wants to be Illinois. Everybody wants to be, and then people are going to get more dollars. And I got to be honest with you. I thought that it was going to be inflationary, but I had no idea how high prices were going to go very quick. I mean, buying basketball players, I'm sure the coaches run around. They're talking like a bunch of folks talking about how much the egg prices were up at one point. You know, it's just crazy this year.
All the players can afford a lot of eggs.
Yes, and you kind of hope at some point they have a way to corral this, but that's a different discussion. So, final question here before we move on, and then was there a meeting with SAR today, and give us kind of a timeline on what you can think in terms of expectations, because I don't know that SAR is going to make a decision right away, but what are you guys hearing?
Well, I know they met with him last night, and it's not going to be today or tomorrow, but I think he'll make a decision within the next week. I think it's going to be a little bit sooner than what people realize. A lot has to happen for Illinois' roster, for him to look at and see what goes on with the roster. That does matter to him, but I do know there's a reason why the Illinois coaches were there. I don't know if there was any other college coaches there to specifically look at him, so that should tell you what Illinois thinks of him and his interest with Illinois.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good take. I think the other thing you have to remember here is that, how do I say this? I think DeMay is a kid who's, his goal is to play in the NBA, and I think you're going to have to balance. He wants to be showcased, and so I think we're also going to see we may see 2 Illinois guys declare for the NBA draft this week, which could open the door for a couple more spots and opportunities there. And I think people understand that. And so I think that DeMay is waiting for that to happen, in my opinion, before anything else is going to happen. I know he has some things he has to clean up at back in Spain, just to, with leaving Barcelona, all that kind of stuff. And, his agent will help through that and all those things. But yeah, I think that he's Illinois is a really good spot. Again, you go back to the Jeff Alexander being having the same, being a Wasserman, agency now. You've got Kasparis, Yakchonis with Wasserman. So yeah, and DeMay has got the same, representative, as far as agency. So yeah, this is it's a really good position.
Perfect. Well, folks, thanks so much for being on board tonight. We have appreciated it. We try to get stuff. Of course, now the Illini guys subscribers realize I don't think there was much, if anything, here that hasn't been talked about on our message boards. Now you have to keep up with all the messages, which can be tough. There's a few guys out there. There's a Bob or two that keeps track of everything, but it's hard to keep all of it straight. But basically, you want stuff, you can obviously get it as Illini guys illini.com subscriber. But we do appreciate having you here. Of course, if you can like and follow our channel, that is great. If you can give us a 5-star review on either the podcast, whether it's video or audio or both, that really helps us. And of course, $99 a year is a IlliniGuys.com subscription, and we would love to have you there. And that's when you can go into the message boards and talk directly with Ked and Brad on a regular basis. And beyond that, you can also follow us on X. That always is good because we can reach out to you when we have news and let you know about what is going on. Until next time, folks, go Illini, and we will see you.